what's up everyone? Phil here with videoschoolonline.com. Today we are continuing the After Effects Shapes course talking about the repeater effect, which is an amazing trick that will definitely speed up your workflow and will help you create some amazing motion graphics. Let's see what you can do with the repeater right here. Ba-bam, check that out. Let's watch it again while I talk about it. So you see all of these different objects flying out of the center of the screen, and it's just a really cool effect that you can use as a transition, or helping to make different things appear. You can have text pop up after that, or an image, or anything. And I was able to create this in about 10 minutes. Which is pretty amazing, and I think I could do it even faster. But with you guys, we're going to aim at being able to do all of this in just about 10 minutes. So let's get straight into After Effects. The clock is ticking. So we're going to start a new composition. 1920 by 1080 is fine. Then let's just create a background by creating a new solid. So we'll just use that same blue. And now we're going to create a new shape. So using the rectangle tool, I'm going to create a shape and just create a square. Now with the stroke, I'm just going to create, how about let's do something a little bit different, something like this, really light green. Okay, now I'm going to make sure my anchor point is in the center. So using the move anchor point script, I'm just going to set that to the center. And then using the align, which is under window, you can center this object. Okay, so now under our shape layer, under rectangle, we're going to take the fill and turn that down to 0. Okay, so now first thing we want to do is kind of create some sort of interesting motion with this. So under stroke, let's go ahead and set a keyframe for stroke width there. And then let's go forward about 1 second and change the stroke width to 0. So already we have some sort of something interesting happening. Okay, so now with under rectangle path, let's go ahead and edit the size from, right now it's 123.4 to something like 0. Okay, so now let's go under let's look under transform rectangle, and let's edit this position. So now we can edit the position from where it starts and just move it up. So I'm just holding shift and pressing up on my keyboard. Whoops, didn't have the keyframe set. Let's undo that. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so set a keyframe there, and now go forward, and we can just move this right here by clicking this number, moving it up. Okay, so now what we're going to do is use this scale and go from 0 to 100. So that's something a little interesting. So this is a different transformation for size. So up here we edited the rectangle path size. Down here we have the transform rectangle scale. So two different options for editing the size of this. I'm just going to zoom in on this so you can see a little better. Okay, so now I'm going to select all of these keyframes, easy ease them, and then go into my graph editor. Make sure that you have edit speed graph selected. Select these second keyframes and drag them forward. And this is just going to create a little bit more interesting motion. Okay, so you see that is already pretty interesting. Okay, so now we're going to add what we call a group. You thought I was going to say repeater. But first we're going to add a group, and we're going to put this rectangle inside of the group. The reason we do that is because if we didn't put the rectangle inside the group, we wouldn't have these extra transform tools that we might use to edit the rotation, size, and different things. And then also we're going to add repeater. Okay, so now you see that this repeater effect has increased the number of squares that we created to 3. But they're kind of showing up in a linear way. So the reason is because under repeater, there are different options. So first you can see the number of copies. So we can go from 0 to however many. So say we pick something like 9. You can also change the offset and move them however you want. Down here under the transform repeater options, you have some more options to change things. So you can rotate, change the scale, etc. To make it that sort of circular thing that comes out of the center, we're going to change the position to 0. So now all 9 copies are at this position, and then increase the rotation. Okay? So now if the way that we calculate the rotation is by dividing 360 degrees divided by the amount of copies. So we have 40 degrees. That's right. Okay, so now let's just make sure that this is in the center, and our anchor point is in the center of this group now. So as you can see, we have a pretty cool animation already. We have, just by adding the repeater effect, we have this square kind of flying out into space, and it's pretty cool. Okay, so that took about, that took about 6 minutes. All right, so I got 4 minutes left to show you how to do the rest of it. So basically, you can just repeat this shape, and I'm just going to drag it over so that it starts a little later. And then we just change some of the properties. So press UU to bring up the properties. So now instead of having the stroke width start at 0, maybe we'll add the fill. So let's just delete the stroke entirely, and then let's add back the fill. Okay, so now we have squares coming out. And how about instead of this rotation being 40, so which rotation are we going to change? We want to rotate the whole object, so let's just press R and rotate the whole object. So something like that. I did that by selecting the whole object and pressing R and bringing up rotation. And then let's increase the number of copies to something like 12. So 360 divided by 12 is 30. Okay, so now we have these squares coming out. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so let's repeat again. So I'm just duplicating Command D on the keyboard, and I'm dragging it over. So now let's do something a little bit different. So let's press UU. So now I don't want this the size to go this way from scale 0 to 100. I'm going to change this from 100 to 0. So let's just see what that looks like. So now it starts at 100. We don't want that. So we want this scale size to be 0. And then this final size right here, we're going to uncheck this link and then drag out the either one of these size properties. So now it creates these really skinny lines. Now let's just make this, the first one, like something like 10. So now it should make some bars that come out. Okay, so let's just change the rotation of this. Not that rotation, but down here, one of these rotations should make it more straight from the center point. There are so many things under this group. Okay, I can't find it right now, but it's still a pretty cool effect. But instead of position going from here to basically there, where the edge of all of our other things are disappearing, we're going to increase the position by actually decreasing these numbers. So it goes out further. See how the lines now go out further? Boom. That's pretty darn cool. Okay, so I can just keep going, keep duplicating this, but basically what you do then, I'm just going to select all of these and just duplicate these individual ones. Something like this. Just duplicate them and drag them around, and then you can even select one of them and then speed it up or slow it down by dragging in or dragging out the keyframes. Wow, so that was pretty crazy. I don't think I like that necessarily, but just play around, drag it around, and you have a pretty awesome object. A pretty cool animation, that is. So that's basically the repeater. I got in just over 10 minutes, and play around with it. You know, under the repeater settings, you can play with, let's go to this object. You can play with the copies, the offset, and that might change up how your animation actually appears. And you just play around with it, duplicate, and have fun. So right now, I want you to go and play around in After Effects. Use the repeater effect to create something, you know, unique, something similar to this. Use circles instead of squares. Use, you know, more lines. You can even create triangles using the mask tool. If you have any questions, though, please let me know. I'm glad that you got through this lesson with me, and I can't wait to see what you create. So send it over to videoschoolonline@gmail.com. Okay, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.